a lot of things are ripening at the same time this year. So, in fact, the last 3 days we picked about 350 pounds of tomatoes, about 200 pounds of cucumbers, a couple hundred pounds of squash. So it's been a little overwhelming in a good way. We use most of it, but there are times where we get a little long. And so it kind of gave us the idea, well, what do you do? And what can you do at home as well that's realistic? And so we put together a very simple pickling recipe for people that I have found works for all vegetables. It's really meant for the refrigerator. It's not pickling for cans, but it'll last. By doing this recipe, you can take squash that really has a very short life before it starts degrading and bruising, and you can pickle it and you'll have it in your refrigerator for a couple weeks, and you have options. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have some samples after the fact. What we've done too is kind of done a little display of some of the products that we do, but this is just kind of a one of many things. The idea behind the Girl and the Fig and all our restaurants is farm to table, and when we started, that was neat. We've got some great farms in Sonoma Valley, and we still work with them, but it's been really neat over the years to now be able to do our own farm and take it to our own table, and that's why I definitely can't wait to be done, no offense, and walk around, but make some more contacts. One of the arrangements we have, we're lucky, we don't actually have the land. We sharecrop on a local winery called Imagery. And the agreement that we have is we get the land, they provide us water, and in return, we make little products for them to sell in their tasting room. It's a true sharecropping agreement. So these are some bread and butter pickles we made for them. So it's a great trade-off. We farm it biodynamically, and we get land that we otherwise wouldn't have. It doesn't sit fallow, and they get products, and so we all win. And it's been a fun partnership, and it really, as a chef, has got us closer to the ground, closer to understanding seasonality. I think as chefs we think we do, but the more you farm, the more you get into it, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the other day we had a menu that had pears, heirloom tomatoes, padron peppers, zucchini. What else? We had peaches, and we had delicata squash. And again, normally, 5 years ago, if someone was to give me that menu, I would say, you don't know anything about seasonality. You're out of your mind. But that's what's coming out of our garden right now, so it's got to be seasonal. Somebody could probably criticize me about how I plant and when I plant, but that's a whole other discussion. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you through what I think is a very simple recipe. Again, you can adapt it to almost any vegetable that you want. You can add spices, take spices out. We do have recipe cards afterwards for you to use. But what's fun about it is it's really a way of preserving the hard work you do in the garden. I think all of us that farm realize that not only do we never know how much we're going to get, we don't know when we're going to get it. And there's nothing worse than spending so much time farming and working, and this applies in the restaurant, and then saying, oh my God, I can't do anything with it, and watching it go bad. Obviously, that's another thing that's so different when you farm to table. It's different than just calling up the produce company and saying, I want 10 pounds of tomatoes. My produce company told me we're taking 300 pounds of tomatoes. So it changes your perspective on how to use it. We've got stuff drying on the roof right now. We're doing everything we can. Our Bloody Marys are going to be fresh tomato juice this weekend from the garden. So it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and start. A combination of what I have up here. I've got some cut already, but this is stuff we picked today, with the exception of the onion. But I've got some nicely chewed on divine cucumber, some squashes, and then some early girl tomatoes that are still green. The last few years, our early girl tomatoes have been phenomenal, but they've also left us a lot of green fruit. So that was a lot of fun. We made a lot of green tomato jam and pickled. And so really, you can cut this in any thickness that you desire, any shape. A lot of times we think of a pickle having a certain shape. The only thing that I suggest is have some similarity in your cut so that you have some similarity in your texture. If you slice them too thin, they will get mushy, and if you slice them too thick, they will be too al dente. And if you do a mixture of both, it won't necessarily be as good as you want. But you can cut them in any shape. Obviously, you can go ahead and just do it in medallions. You can't really see what I'm doing, but really, I think at least 1/4 inch thickness is what I like. And I love to mix different vegetables. If I'm canning, I wouldn't, but if I'm just making pickles for the restaurant, and we put B&B pickles and all types of pickles on our burgers, on our sandwiches, at the Golden Fig. We put them on our salumi plates at our state restaurant. At state, we make all of our own cured meats. We'll have some copa that we made for you later. So pickles are like this eternal fun food. I just love them as snacks, but I like a little bit of texture, so I like to go about 1/2 inch. Another cut that I really like is I'll take a cucumber about that big, and I'll go ahead and cut it into batons, which are about like that. And then I will take a little of the extra seed out, if it's a real seedy, or if it's a cucumber that's hidden from you, or a zucchini that hides from you for 3 minutes and grows 6 inches, which always amazes me, because I'll walk through the garden and go, how is a 4-foot zucchini in the garden when I've been here every day for the last week?
Yeah.
But they tend to be there. And so you can just kind of cut in the desired shape you like. While this is going, what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to take my wet ingredients, I'm going to go ahead and bring them to a boil, and then I'll finish cutting. So what I've got is a little Gravenstein apple vinegar. Again, you can choose the vinegar of your choice. If we're doing, you'll see on some of the skewers we have some turnips and some baby carrots. For those I use a little red wine vinegar because I like the red color on the carrots, it enhances it. So you can kind of, sometimes if you want, if you've got a beautiful yellow squash, so I like to add turmeric to highlight it, or I'll leave it plain. So it's kind of up to you. You'll see some recipes and spices, but think of your vinegar as a flavoring agent and also as a coloring agent. You know, you can use a champagne vinegar. Sorry, tomato. It's green tomato, they don't bruise as easily. But think of it as a flavor and a color. One of the things we do, which is great color, is we make our own vinegar. We have all of our wine reps from the area bring us all of our leftover wine, and we just keep dumping it into a barrel. And so we started producing our own vinegar, and it's really, really red. It's not like what a lot of times you'll buy in the stores, but it makes a beautiful pickled shallot, pickled red onion, you know, pickled cherry, really. And the same base recipe is going to work, which is the vinegar, and then I do about half the weight of sugar, which is right here. And we're going to go ahead and get this boiling.
Half the weight of what? The food or the vinegar?
What's that?
Half the weight of what? The food?
Half the weight of the vinegar.
Okay.
I did sugar. But again, I'll give you a recipe later. In this one, I've got a little bit. Grab a spoon. I've got a little bit of turmeric, a little bit of allspice, a clove, and a little bit of ginger. Again, you can omit all of those, or you can add. It's up to you. The important part is your vinegar-sugar ratio, and you can go down on your sugar if you don't like them that sweet. I like a little sweetness to my pickles. I find there's a little bit more diversity to it. For a real tart pickle, then I'll go ahead and do a kosher or fermented style. So we're going to add that in, and we're just going to bring it to a boil and get that, all those spices really dissolving. We made, last week we made about 200 quarts of pickles.
Wow.
And when the restaurant's really busy, we'll actually go through all those in about a week. So it seems like a lot, but, and those we made out of some salt and pepper, cucumbers that we did, and some divine, and goodness knows, every kind you can imagine. So it's been a good year. So I